Welcome back, WNST. Week I'll be sitting with my feet up on the couch watching Red Zone. This guy gets around the league as well as anyone over the last quarter of a century. A long, long time for Sports Illustrated. Now working in a variety of places, including Patriots.com, The Athletic, and Bleacher Report, as well as a podcast at Patriots.com. You can find him out on Twitter or at a Bruce Springsteen concert near you. We welcome one of our defending champions and one-time Maryland neighbor, still with the 410 area code. We welcome Don Banks back on to talk Ravens woes at the bye week. You know, the bad news is they're 4-5. The good news is, have you seen their schedule the rest of the way, right?
Yeah, that is the good news. You know, I think it's I think it's troubling when you watch that offense continue to not be able to kind of find its identity and not be able to put really 2 weeks together. But in this year's NFL, it's almost hard to eliminate yourself from contention, truly eliminate yourself. I did a midseason review last week, and I think the stat was 27 out of 32 teams were at least within 2 games of their conference's final wild card spot, that number 6 seed. So that only left 5 teams that are truly playing for 2018. Now, that was before Week 9's results, but it's still pretty similar, and that is the best ray of hope you can offer a Ravens fan right now.
Well, and then there's the offense and how it's going to get better and where Marty Morningwig is. Look, if they're going to lose to this Hundley kid out in Green Bay 2 weeks from now, if they're going to lose to Tom Savage, if they're going to lose to the Cleveland Browns or to Jacoby Brissett, I would really think that all hell could break loose here in the offseason over the second half, especially as they've gotten healthier and stronger and waiting for Woodhead to come back and Brandon Williams came back out. I'll hear the excuses of Marshall Yonda, but by and large, I looked on Sunday. Macklin, Watson, Wallace, Perryman, all these guys are out on the field now. There should be no excuses.
Yeah, I mean, it is time. I think Harbaugh kind of signaled that. It's time for, the players that are out there to kind of step up and put something resembling an effective offensive production effort out there, because they've had their share of injuries and then some, but there's more than one team that can say that in this year's NFL, and I think the thing that always distinguished the Ravens, I thought, was the resiliency when they did get adversity and their ability to go anywhere and on a certain day beat anybody at any stadium. They didn't worry too much where they played, and sometimes they beat you with a shorthanded squad. And they've lost that reputation a little bit the last couple of years. And I think what Harbaugh was signaling was we need to get a little bit back to that mojo that Baltimore used to be known for, and that they were going to give you a game week in and week out, and they were going to win more than their share.
Well, above and beyond these division leaders, and I don't know that anybody's going to catch the Patriots or the Chiefs or the Steelers. We'll see what happens in the South. But, this wild card thing's going to be a real dogfight. And I don't, you look around the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets. At one point, we thought the West was the strongest division in football. That's clearly gone by the wayside. I don't know who the emerging teams are going to be here. And as much as we sit here and feel sorry about ourselves, boy, I look around the rest of the AFC, and I think there's a lot of unhappy offensive coordinators and a lot of unhappy owners and fans in a lot of places right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you just targeted the AFC West. Everyone thought that could have 3 playoff teams between Oakland, Kansas City, and Denver. And Denver looks completely and utterly lost at quarterback and thus on offense. Kansas City has lost 3 out of 4 since starting 5-0. They suddenly don't look like the big play home run threat that was going to rule the AFC this year. And, the Raiders, to me, are the biggest disappointment in the AFC. They were a 12-4 team last year that was expected to even take another step and go further. And their quarterback has regressed. So I think there are a lot of teams. The Steelers went through their 2 or 3 weeks of the sky is falling. They're back to the number 1 seed by midseason. The Patriots have certainly had their defensive issues, and yet there they are, the number 2 seed. And just when we were ready to finally take the Bills seriously, they go last Thursday night into the Meadowlands and lose to a Jets team that has been plucky, but is not as talented as the Bills. So it has been that kind of year, I think, across the board in both conferences. But the AFC in particular is just kind of devoid of greatness right now, and that leaves it wide open.
I mean, it feels like about 5 minutes ago, I saw you and your wife, me and my wife, before the draft a year and a half ago, and this Carson Wentz kid from North Dakota and the Goff kid, and everybody's going to deal away draft picks and move up the board, and what's Philadelphia doing? They already have Sam Bradford. Boy, 18 months later, if there's anything I'm buying here in early November, I think I'm buying what the Philadelphia Eagles are selling right now based on the Schwartz defense and that front seven, as well as just the emergence of the offense and where Wentz is, as well as I don't know that I love any of the other teams in the NFC, and I will believe in the Rams when the time comes. But with Green Bay sort of on the shelf at this point, it really has opened the door for the Eagles in my mind.
Yeah, they have, and they've certainly been the most consistent, productive team from week 1 through the end of week 9, as the league has seen. Now, I like what the Saints have, 6 in a row, and I think they're going to win that division. It's going to come down, I think, to Carolina and the Saints, and they've already won in Charlotte this year. So if they hold serve at home, they've got a great shot to win the NFC South for the first time since 2011. The Cowboys look to be putting something together, but let's see what happens for the 15th time on the Ezekiel Elliott court case. The Vikings are 6-2, and they probably should win the North. But last night's Detroit Lions win over Green Bay has certainly given them the belief that with their schedule getting easier in the second half, that they could make a run. I agree with the Rams. I think they're a wildly entertaining team and obviously the highest scoring team in the league right now. But their schedule is about to get tougher, so I want to see if they can sustain it. The team to me to watch, and I say this even though they lost to Washington at home, was Seattle the other day. I still believe Seattle will be there in the end. I think they're taking kind of that last Super Bowl window of opportunity type shot, and I think Seattle is tested in terms of the second half, winning big games and then getting to January in decent shape. But they've got their issues as well. The running game has been non-existent, so it has that feel right now like it's Philadelphia, and then everyone else has warts and flaws that you can make a case could be fatal. But the second half generally starts clearing up a lot of these issues, and someone's going to put it together and go a long way this year.
He is Don Banks, long time at SI, now contributing at Patriots.com, as well as The Athletic and Bleach Report. You can find him out on Twitter at Don Banks. This portion of our programming brought to you by our friends at Coppin State University. We are your home for Eagles basketball this winter, as well as the Lady Eagles. You'll be hearing from Juan Dixon around here in the Juan Dixon Show. You can learn more at CoppinStateSports.com. Also, a shout-out to our friends at Costa's Inn. Good enough for the Today Show, good enough for my mom. Fat crabs, cold beer, the legend continues down in Dundalk. They may call it Sparrows Point, but I'm going to claim it because the crabs are that good. CostasInn.com. Chatting with Don Banks about all things football. And Don, I got to move on, from the field off the field here. No one covers the backside of the league and what the comings and goings in the business of the league better than you have over the course of time. This Goodell versus Jerry Jones war that was seeded, and we go back to Kaepernick taking a knee a year and 2 months ago when we had a different president than we have now, and everything that's happened, every tweet, every responsibility, every angry pizza ownership group, and all that stuff. This is kind of getting ugly now between Goodell and Jones and the Trump supporters and the right and the left factions at the highest level in the NFL about what is the right way to go about this, what is the profitable way to go about this, and how to take a public face on this. Clearly, Bob McNair took a hell of a hit 2 weeks ago from the ESPN story that came out.
No, I think divisiveness is it's real. It's not made up. It's not fake news in this case. But people have asked me, do I think Jones is going to succeed in starting a groundswell among his fellow owners to replace Goodell? And my quick answer is no. I think it's a long, hard slog to get to 24 votes. I think what Jerry is legitimately doing is trying to influence the contract extension that is in essence already put together and waiting to be signed by the commissioner. I think Jerry wants to go back at that, revisit, and basically make more of the money tied up in his incentives and not just hand him a dollar figure over the course of that 5-year extension. I understand that. I think in some ways incentivizing the commissioner, it's probably smart business. Jones is saying, let's see where the TV ratings continue to go and which way they trend. Let's see if fan discontent with the player protest issue, the length of games, maybe the advertising that they're trying to drop in the middle of games, the officiating, any number of things. I think Jones is trying to have a stake in on that committee's work, even though he's not technically on that committee, because he thinks that's going to make Goodell more responsive to the rest of the owners. And what McNair kind of acknowledged is that there is some unrest among ownership for the league not getting out front and handling the player protest issue to their liking. I just think that's naive. I think they were trying to act as if it was pre-Trump era when in this particular time the players are finding their voice, they're using their voice, they're going to use their platform for the issues that they care about, and I don't think you put the genie back in that bottle completely.
Well, and last thing I'll say on this, and I just I don't know that they've ever really, in all the years you've covered the NFL and all the years I've covered it from the time it landed here, and really long since when the Colts walked out of here in '84, all they've really ever done is gone forward, right? Like they've never really had bad times or slow times. Every single part of this league has tracked up, like the kind of stock you'd want to buy, except that stock doesn't exist in the real world. At some point, there's a market correction or a little setback, and this is choppy waters for them right now, and it's a social issue, and the president's dragged in, politics is dragged in, a lot of money's dragged into this, sponsors, the public. It's sort of all their worst nightmares in one place at one time that isn't, let's say, labor-related for a work stoppage, which was always the biggest problem I think they thought about and prepared for, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think 82 and 87 strike, and then the labor issue in 2011 offered some challenges. And frankly, the 2014 early season player discipline, Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson sagas certainly created some urgency for the league to get control of those type of situations. I don't ever think there's been a year quite making the league office uneasy about where things stand, where they might be headed. Don't forget about 4 years ago when Mark Cuban, Dallas Mavericks owner, came out and gave a very colorful quote about the league as it expanded into a full-year Thursday night package. He said, I hope they don't get too greedy and too overexposed. He said, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And I remember being in owners' meetings talking to owners about that quote, and they kind of laughed it off because the ratings, as you say, were always headed in one direction. They're not laughing that thought off anymore, especially when network executives at both Fox and I believe CBS have kind of given voice in recent days to the idea that maybe a full season of Thursday Night Football isn't a great idea. Maybe they are a bit overexposed by taking some 3 of the 4 London games and putting them in the 9:30 a.m. Eastern time slot. So a little less is more has never been the first instinct of the NFL, but I think you're starting to see the signs that they're hearkening to what Mark Cuban said and realize that they can perhaps around the edges kill the golden goose.
Greatest Springsteen song ever is what, Don Banks?
Now, give me Thunder Road. I'll take Thunder Road.
You're going chalk on me, man. I figured you'd pick something a little outside the box. I didn't know.
I always try to figure out, like, wow, would I want a Springsteen song played at my funeral? And I don't know that I would, but Thunder Road is classic, and it's got just a really nice, timeless. I can never hear it and feel tired of that song, so I'll go with Thunder Road.
It's a town full of losers, but we're pulling out of here to win. Good to have you on, Don Banks. I appreciate the time as always, bud.
Thanks, Nestor.
You got it. Contributor at Patriots.com and the Cover 2 podcast there, as well as the Athletic and Bleach Report. He is Don Banks, one of the great ones on the NFL beat out there. You can check him out at Don Banks on Twitter, and tens of thousands do. You can find me out in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Fremont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake mistake by choosing the wrong lender, you need Freedmont's education online at Freedmont U. You can do that at Freedmont.com. They're going to be sponsoring our live show with C.J. Mosley next Tuesday, swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. All of the details up on our social media. You can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Don't forget the SSV on WNST, now heard on Thursday from 3 until 5. And, of course, Dennis Colazzos and Coons Ford Security Boulevard sponsoring our WNST tech service. That is our breaking news service. You get all the breaking news first in the palm of your hand, never spam, always brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. If you're not signed up for our morning newspaper, you should be. It comes at 7 a.m. each and every morning, and it comes courtesy of Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.